Our topic today is hacking passwords. We're going to hack the concept of passwords. Why can't, and by the way, I was doing some research. They've been around for 60 years, digital passwords. Why don't passwords alone work?
Ultimately, what it comes down to is the use case. So, it really depends what you're trying to protect. If I think about it more broadly, one of the things that we as a security industry are not always very good at is putting users first and putting usability first. The other issue with biometrics, quite honestly, though, is the revocation problem, which is if I forget my password, I lose my password, I get a new one. What happens if someone steals my fingerprint?
When we say biometrics, what we really mean is that you take something that is analog, like my fingerprints, you're converting it to a digital signal. So if you had a man in the browser malware and it listened to your fingerprint signature, it's like the whole idea of biometrics assumes that no one could listen to it and replay it, but that is not a fair assumption anymore.
What is the best method to combine conditional access, for example, location or specific device in the authentication process?
If authentication was perfect and you always know who's the true persona on the other end, you wouldn't need all these rules. You would just either have it or not.
I think Ori raises a great point because ultimately all the things we think about as authentication today are really proxies for authentication. Essentially what we're doing when we do MFA is we're basically saying, well, we're going to put together more and more of these proxies and hope to get closer and closer to the asymptote, which is perfect security, which we're never, ever going to be able to reach.
As a security practitioner, if you're thinking really through what it really means, we need to turn everything to be dynamic. So even if bad guys listen to your session, they cannot use it again. That is where we need to get to in order to turn the table here.
In theory, password managers make things more secure and make things simpler, but what they're actually doing is they're shifting the risk. So rather than lots of small risks, you now have one very large but very unlikely risk.
I know we're all security mavens here, but usability has to be part of the conversation. Some of our team are experienced and user experience people who taught us security guys what it all means. In that world of user experience, there's a famous saying that says, if it's not usable, it's not secure.
All we want is as security professionals, but ultimately, from a usability standpoint, we need to figure out what the user's trust model is and try to adapt our systems to it, rather than say, oh, well, the user's trust model is wrong and we need to educate them.
Do you agree in principle, if you took a random 10,000 people in Canada or in the United States, that the majority of them have a phone or a smartphone? If that is true, then now you can use the technology that we already carry in our pockets to plan certificates.
We're going to play the Department of Yes here. Allow HR to set the length and complexity requirements, I'm assuming, for passwords, because they know what employees want.
Ultimately, employees are going to be very, very happy. Maybe they use passwords that are ultimately harder to guess because they're not just putting in password 1 with a giant P on it at the start.
I think it's a great idea because we're going through a world pandemic and everybody's already stressed out. So let's chill and ease out requirements.
Have the employee password list posted in the office lobby. I would have to actually go to the password list if I wanted to know your password. Why is that a good idea?
You don't have to worry about resetting passwords and people forgetting their passwords anymore. It's a great idea for if an employee leaves the company without warning, then you have their password and then you're able to get into their system.
One, we can all learn about each other from our passwords. What shows you like, what's the name of your favorite pet? Maybe I can apply for a card loan in your name if I know all these things. So, sharing is caring, David.
Nuruddin asks, how does deep fakes impact face scan as a biometric means of authentication?
In theory, it would be fairly difficult for it to do that. But the reality is those take a lot of time and a lot of effort to create. So if I look at, the threat of deep fakes versus the threat of passwords, I'm going to take my chances with deep fakes and I'm going to really focus on passwords because that's where we see the vast majority of attacks these days.
What we are proposing is to really change people's mind by letting them experience something that is easier than 2FA and get rid of passwords. And I know it sounds to be too good to be true. It's like, really? Is that really there? I'll give you the famous quote that says, the future is already here. It's just not well distributed.
I want to go back to the bad ideas. Your password can only be the name of your dog. If your password is compromised, you have to change the name of your dog.
I think it's also a great idea because it makes it really easy to remember your password. You're calling out your password all the time, right?
If passwords were good decades ago, they were not, by the way. The future corrective action was MFA. If biometrics is the future to solve for this, What do you think the next future for authentication is?
The next wave that I really see is around behavioral biometrics. I mean, if you look at biometrics, I think people have a tendency to lump them together as all as one. Fingerprints or iris readers, they require different behavior by the user, whereas behavioral biometrics already leverage the user's existing behavior.
I don't think the evolution should be putting all your passwords in a vault and protecting it with wait for it, password. I think that is a convenience thing. I understand how it came to be, but that cannot be where we end up.
I mean, the first thing I would be doing is looking at potentially doing either MFA or going passwordless, right? Because I'd have to admit to myself, look, these passwords don't work.
I wish I would have realized that going passwordless is a journey. It's not an overnight. You snap your finger and you're there. I didn't realize that some systems just are not capable of having two-factor authentication replaced with passwordless.
Honestly, the biggest surprise was just how easy it was to deploy and how seamlessly it worked. I think it's all about usability, and it's all about just making it simple for users. And what I love about our current system is the fact that I can just click SSO, log into any system, pick up my phone, and it's literally a big check mark on my phone. And I've got my phone with me everywhere I go.
I think we should think about taking the secret, which is the password, away from the human. They never wanted to know it. They never wanted to set it and maintain it. Just take it away from them.
Think about not just your security, but also your privacy, your transparency, and your reliability. And think about how you build trust with your users, because ultimately security is about protecting what you have today.
If it's not usable, it's not secure. You can have the most secure thing, and if no one's going to use it, it's as if it doesn't exist at all.
Amen.